Hi, First Sense Friday listeners. Thank you so much for listening, even if it's on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever, Wednesday and Thursday. We don't want to leave them out either. So thanks for joining me. What a week it's been. For the podcast, and it launched on Wednesday, and thank you so much to everybody who's listening. It's on most of the platforms now. It's called Intuition Your First Sense, so you can go and hit the subscribe button so that it downloads to your phone every week when there's a new episode up. And it has been such a joy. I love talking. The whole process of putting the podcast together, and there's Josh saying, so I hope, and I'm very appreciative, and I'll keep it going, and whatever subjects come up, I am enjoying a platform in which I can provide the information that you can listen to whenever you want, and to include the people that aren't on Facebook, because there are a lot of people who don't do the social media. And I have been trying to balance that and figure out, well, how do I get this out there? I already do an email list, I do a blog, I do a Facebook Friday, and then I'm like, let's just go podcast. And I think it's also fun because it's introducing people to the world of podcasts, which I love. It's what is normally playing in my house, or if I'm in the car, or out if I'm running by myself. So it's a great way to get information in, and no matter what subject that you are interested in, I promise you, there's a podcast on that. And some of them are hysterical, and some of them you may not subscribe to, but I hope you subscribe to mine, because then we build that community. I talked about last week how the energy was a little funky. It was fast this week. It feels like it was just constantly hitting you with stuff. And I know I had a lot on my plate, but then I stepped back and felt the energy, and it still felt like that. So one of the things that I see when this happens is people feel very short-circuited, a little cranky, maybe overwhelmed. And then it tends to bring up some of the hurts that we've been dealing with, and maybe some of the pains that didn't get dealt with, because we're pretty good at putting them away in the filing cabinet and not dealing with them. Or, maybe there's not time in of when we are hurting, and like, what are we doing with that hurt? Are we able to allow it to process through? And part of my job, I think, because I see it every day, several appointments a day, and that's my role. I'm here to help you with your hurt. And if I join you in your hurt, that's not going to help. And I have found that some people get tied to their hurt, like they get tied to the story in this moment. And one of the benefits that I have had in being able to communicate with those who have crossed is to hear their messages of that, to focus on the hurt and not on what's going well in our life, just digs us in deeper. And while I have said to those who have crossed, well, congratulations, but you're not human, and you don't have an ego, and you don't have from those who have crossed. That's That damn filing cabinet, Deb. It's like you want to click it shut, but here it comes. And that's going to happen because our experiences are in there, and they're in our neural pathways, and they're in our cellular memories. I mean, you remember things from past lives, so that I'm not saying we have to wipe our slate clean and not have emotions, because anytime you're expanding, you're going to have emotions. You're going to have a response factor. And that is brilliant because that's where your expansion is happening. But a lot of the times we get caught up in macaroni place, and this has been a holy macaroni week. So I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll bring it out. So you've heard me say this before, that life is eternal. There is no death. Energy does not die. It changes form. We move from physical to non-physical and back again. It just keeps going. So I feel like when we have a sense of acceptance around that, maybe you need to learn not helping those who have crossed. And I've heard this many times that, well, they wouldn't want me to be happy that they passed. Baloney. They want you to be happy. It's not directly related to the fact that they passed. They're happy they passed. I promise you that. And you can wait until you croak to find out that that's the truth and not believe me now. That's your prerogative. But you will never be helping someone who has crossed by thinking you have to hold back on your own life in order for them to be happy. It's just not necessary. And I think it's a little disrespectful to think that if I sacrifice my life here and I'm miserable, that it's somehow helping them, because then aren't you asking them to join you in your shitstorm? So again, the emotions are going to move through, but it's not honoring them. And they don't want us to remember pain in order to remember them. If your relationship was challenging, do your part to heal it, and then when you meet up with them, you can help with that great big hug. So, and to that point, no one on the other side is alone. And I think a lot of people are going through this right now where we're processing going through the mourning process again. So the no one on the other side is alone. Like, everybody has the ability to be with someone. But that doesn't mean that when they're alone, that they don't want to be alone. It's like when we take a space and we just need a timeout. Sunday afternoons are usually my thing, where I just hibernate, and that's my day. And it helps me to reboot for the week. So they have times like that. that I'm not handing you a line of hooey, that this truly does happen, that we are, full of that joy that's possible on the other side. And my wish for you is that we start honoring that, and we start recognizing that the pain can move through. It doesn't have to be permanent. And I just think that we have to learn from everybody. And there's a lot of humor on the other side. So taking that into consideration, I think if we borrow that, and I'm sorry when people are hurting, and I'm sorry if you're hurting, but hurt does not have to be a permanent state. And like I've said before, emotions, they're in motion. That's why it's in the word. So get your butt in motion, clean something, do something, call a friend, work out, paint, write, something that helps the grief or whatever you're going through move through. Write out what you would like to say to that person. And if it's a contentious So I am going to wrap up, and I just hope that you have a great weekend. And it hasn't been the greatest connection today, so you might have to catch this on a recording. And also another reason that we're going podcast. Great connection. So, and I will be doing some video from the podcast, because I have heard that it's so nice that you miss my face. So I hope you have a good weekend, and that if you are experiencing some of this turmoil that's going on and the energy that's shaken up, and having us evaluate some old pains that are bubbling up to the surface, they're coming up to the surface to be dealt with. Look at them, give them a nice little hug, and then usher them on their way. So spring cleaning, may as well spring clean emotionally too. So head over to whatever platform that you listen to your podcast, or maybe you're a new podcast subscriber. Hit the subscribe button, and every Wisdom Wednesday, the podcast will drop in. Still waiting for iTunes to give us the approval, but all the other ones have come on board. And I thank you so much for being part of my life. And I will see you next week.